guys, what's up? I'm Jersey Squirrel and you're watching my new YouTube show, Mixed Nuts. On Mixed Nuts, I'm going to give you a mix of different things that you can find on different YouTube channels right here, all on one convenient channel. So you could just go over to your side box there. Every channel that you're subscribed to, just unsubscribe and press the subscribe button below. You'll find everything that you can find there right here. No need to look anywhere else. Alright? You're going to find on this channel product reviews. You're going to find box unopenings, Pinterest tests, challenge videos, vlogging, maybe some cooking things. We'll have to see where it goes. So if there's anything that you would like to see on this channel, leave it in the comments below and we'll see what we can do for future videos. But today on Mixed Nuts, I'm actually going to be doing a product review. And the product that I'm going to be reviewing today is the RetroBit Trio. This is actually a video game console that I received from my wife 2 years ago for my birthday. Thanks, Mrs. Squirrel. Having a lot of fun with it. So this system actually plays 3 different kinds of retro video games. The first one being the Super Nintendo games, the regular Nintendo games, and the Sega Genesis games. The RetroBit actually has 2 other consoles. The regular RetroBit just does the regular Nintendo games. The Duo does Nintendo and Super Nintendo games, but the Trio does the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Genesis games. These consoles range anywhere from $20 that I saw online up to $170. I asked my wife, she told me that she did not pay that much for the Trio. It just depends on how you find it online. But if you're looking, they had them on Amazon, okay? The day that I got this system, I ran up to the attic, went through a ton of boxes, dug through a bunch of stuff, and I found as many of my old Nintendo and Super Nintendo games that I could find. I actually found quite a bit. But we're not going to be going through all these games today. I just picked up a few different ones so you can see how the system works and see how it operates. So the way the system works is it has 3 cartridge slots, one being for the Genesis, the Super Nintendo, and the regular Nintendo, and it has a power button. It's in the off position now, but when you push it up to the first clicker, it goes to the Genesis. When you do it to the second one, it goes to the Super Nintendo, and the third one goes to the regular Nintendo. It has different ports for the controllers. It says that it can use the Super Nintendo controllers and the regular Nintendo controllers. I haven't had any luck with the regular Nintendo controllers. I have one of my old Nintendo controllers from back in the day. I don't know if it's the controller itself or if it's the way the system works, but I haven't been able to get it up and going. So I'm not going to show you that one today. It actually does come with a controller, the system. It comes with a RetroBit controller. Looks a lot like the Super Nintendo controller, the way it looks. I did notice with a lot of the Nintendo games that I played, you would think that the controller button A and B would be what you would use because on the old controller, that's what it was. It was A and B and your directional pad. It's not. I know with a lot of games, I'm having to press B and Y. So once I did some finagling with the games, I was able to figure out which controls worked best, and I was able to play the games that I wanted to. Growing up, I had, as I said, the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo systems. I then moved on to the Sony PlayStation. I had the Sony PlayStation, the Sony PlayStation 2, and from there I actually moved to the Xbox 360. Stop with the hating. I can hear you from over here. I don't need the drama about how Sony's better. I like my Xbox, thank you very much. And I even got the Xbox One, which I'm having a lot of fun with. I like that it's a nice entertainment console. I like that I could switch the TV back and forth. And I know the Sony PlayStation is doing that, but I'm still happy with my Xbox. So you can keep your comments to yourself unless you put them in the comments below, which I'm sure I'll read later. But regardless, back to the RetroBit. It comes with this controller, so you just have to figure out how it goes. Now, because I never had a Sega Genesis as a kid, I didn't even know which cartridges would work in this unit. So I actually went to a store in Clifton, New Jersey called Digital Press. It is a really great store for a lot of retro games. They sell the old game cartridges, and it depends on the shape that they're in and the popularity of them, I would assume, as to how they're priced. I picked up Sega Genesis Batman Forever. They didn't have a wide variety of Sega Genesis games, but I picked this one up. It was $2.99. Which isn't half bad considering if I look this up online, I'll probably be paying the same amount plus shipping and handling. So it's a great store if you're ever looking for some old games, cartridges. They have a lot of memorabilia. I actually picked up that little Luigi doll there today. It's a great store located in Clifton, New Jersey called Digital Press. So I'm going to pop this game in. I'm going to show you how the system works. So like any 80s, 90s kid who ever played with these systems, the first thing that you do before you put them in, you blow in them. You then put it in your system, and I'm going to pop it up to the first controller port, which is the Genesis. It's coming up on the screen. Great. We'll go from there. All right. I'm actually going to use the RetroBit controller because, like I said, I've never had a Sega Genesis, so I don't have a Sega Genesis controller in the house. I'm going to plug it into the Genesis port down here, and I'm going to make sure that my little button over here says Genesis and Super Nintendo and regular Nintendo is on the Genesis port. That's saying that I'm going to the Genesis port for the controller. Alright. Bring the volume down a little bit. I didn't realize it was that loud. So again, I've never played this game before. So it says play the game. I'm going to press B, press A, Y, and X. None of that's working. I'll press start. It brings me to the game. Perfect. Alright. So, I could choose my player. I think I'll play Batman since I'm playing Batman. I think I'll be Batman. Again, the start button. And as you can see, the graphics are working fine. The controller's working normal. I'm going to skip past all this because I'm just going to show you how the system itself works. I'm going to press start, get into gameplay. Okay? The directional button, you can see, press up, sideways, I move all around. I would assume the B button would do something, but it's not doing anything. Oh, I get hit. I press the A button, I kick, I press the Y button, I punch, and pressing the X button, I shoot something. So the controllers are functioning normally. I could pause it. The select button, I don't know if it does anything with this game, but it's not doing anything so far. Okay? So as you can see, the game works pretty good. I'm able to move around. It's not the best graphics. Again, this is a tube TV. I just literally installed this television so I could play it with my RetroBit bit, but the controller is working. So we're going to turn this one off, and we'll move on to the next system. All right? It takes a little manpower to get it out of there. That's one thing I'm not really a fan of with the system. I really got to pull on the cartridges to get them out of the system itself, and that kind of makes me nervous that I'm going to break something, but it's out. Nothing's broken, I hope. So now we're going to move on to regular Nintendo. One thing that I did notice, Paperboy, classic game. There is not one kid who had a Nintendo who did not play Paperboy. And if you had a Nintendo and didn't play Paperboy, we can't be friends and don't bother subscribing. I'm just putting it out there. Paperboy was one of my favorite games. I was really disappointed. I put in Paperboy, it would not play for a while. I didn't know if it was the cartridge or the system. I'll try to play it now. Just to see. So yeah, it's not playing. It took me a while to get this up and going, and I finally did get the game up and going. The controller wouldn't work. And again, this was the first game that I tried with the system, so I was kind of concerned that the system itself wasn't working. But I actually contacted RetroBit after trying a few other Nintendo games. They worked, and they told me that Paperboy was just one of the games that couldn't be formatted for the system. So there are some games that don't work. I also tried out the Friday the 13th game. I put it in. The game worked. I was able to move around. But to change your counselor in this game, you have to press the select button. The select button on the RetroBit wasn't formatted to work with the Friday the 13th game. So there were some games that I haven't been able to play even though I wanted to, and even though I could get them up, it just wasn't formatted to work. So that is a downside to this system. But I'm going to pop in a game that everybody knows, Super Mario Bros. 3. Pop it in. See if I can get it working. Oh, there we go. Sometimes the graphics come up a little weird. Again, it's an old system. It's a cartridge. So I'll just give it another cleaning. I actually was told that I could clean this with alcohol and some Q-tips. I'm scared to do that. I don't want to break my cartridge, so I haven't done that. But regardless, it comes up. It's a little back and forth, but I actually do have Super Mario All-Stars somewhere, which allows me to play the Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, all on Super Nintendo, even though they were originally for Nintendo systems. So I'm going to go from here. I'm going to switch this over to the... I'm going to keep it on Genesis. I don't want to switch it over to Super Nintendo. I press the start button, and away we go. Regular format of the game, I press B, You would think A would make you jump, but like I said, with this one, the Y kind of works like the B, and the A kind of works, the Y kind of works like the B, and the B works as the A, on the way this controller is set up. So again, it took some finagling for me to figure out that, but as you can see, it's just the normal standard gameplay, and this is the original disc that I purchased when this game first came out, and you can see it works perfectly fine. You can get through, get everything done the way that you would normally do it, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of like getting into this game because this was actually one of my favorite games when I was a kid. And I'm sure we've all played this game a time or two in the years. Alright, but you can see that the gameplay is pretty standard. Number 3. And I'll actually try to find my my other game for the Super Nintendo, the All-Stars, that actually play this, and you can actually see the difference in the graphics. But again, this is the regular Nintendo, and the All-Stars is the Super Nintendo. Okay? So as you can see, it comes up pretty okay. I have a little bit of a issue. The screen is a little tilted. I don't know if that's just the tubing of the television, the system itself. They're both old. Alright? So we'll turn this off. I'm actually going to move on to the Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo, you have to go for Turtles in Time. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles rock. So I'm going to go for Turtles in Time. That's going to go into the middle cartridge, and then up to the Super Nintendo slot. It pops up. I'm actually going to switch this over to a Super Nintendo controller that I have. My wife got me this. Also, Mrs. Squirrel is great, in case you haven't realized that, when I was having some sticky issues with the RetroBit, and they actually don't sell replacement controllers that I saw, so she actually bought me this. So I want to plug it in up here into the Super Nintendo slot port, and I want to switch it over to Super Nintendo because that's where it should be. Alright, moving it to one player, and I could choose whichever one I want. And because this is a Super Nintendo game, this is a Super Nintendo controller, it is a little bit more of a older version, I would assume, so it formats a little bit better than the regular Nintendo games. I feel the controls, I don't remember, but I feel they work pretty much the way they worked when I was a kid. The things that I used to be able to do, I'm pressing the Y button to get the hits in, B button to jump, so this works fine. Let me see if I can find the All-Stars game. I'll show you just what that looks like. I don't see it over here, so it's probably in this box. Bear with me. I'm actually not seeing it, but you can tell the graphics with the Nintendo games are a little bit more downhill, which is to be expected. But the Super Nintendo games actually work pretty well. The Genesis I was actually pleasantly surprised with as well. But you can see, you can pop games in. They don't work sometimes. It's just like with the old systems. I don't feel like it's any different with this system than it was with my older systems, with having to give a little dust out of the cartridge itself and then getting it up and going. But sometimes it doesn't work. But again, that's how the old systems were anyway. So regardless, I do like this system. I wish that the cartridges were a little bit easier to get out. I wish that it was formatted for most of the games. I wish that the controllers were like the original controllers where the A-B buttons worked with the Nintendo. But all in all, considering that this is just a system that was made to play your old games on, it's not put out by any specific company, it's not put out by Sega, it's not put out by Nintendo, I actually think it's a really good buy. I don't know, my wife was telling me that she thinks that she spent around $60 for it, $50, $60 for the Trio, and now when I'm looking on Amazon, it's like $100. I don't think I would spend that much on the Trio, considering the issues that it does have, but if you can find the original one and just play your regular Nintendo games, you know, I think it's actually a pretty good buy. I know the original Nintendo RetroBit, I saw it online for $25. Not a bad buy. And I think the Duo was $75. The Trio was just more expensive. But again, I hope this helps you guys out. And again, if you liked this video, give a thumbs up, like it, and give a subscribe for me. That would help me out a lot. And again, give me a comments below what kind of videos you'd like to see in the future, and I hope you had a good time here on Mixed Nuts. Again, Jersey Squirrel signing off. Have a good one.